Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm going to be talking about my least favorite adaptations. So I'm very sorry if the lighting is strange. Every time I go to film, it starts raining and the sun goes down completely, and it's really infuriating, and it's been happening all of February. I mean, I guess that kind of describes February in general, but my lighting isn't at the bar that I usually have it at. So sorry about that. But today I am going to be talking about my least favorite book to film adaptations. I have previously done a most favorite adaptations video. This is going to be part 2 in a kind of 4-part video collection. I'm also going to do a video about the movies that I like more than the book, and I'm going to be doing a video of the books that I most want to see turned into movies. But for now, we're going to talk about my least favorite adaptations, and we're going to start by talking about Horns. So Horns by Joe Hill is a horror novel that I read last year and absolutely loved, and the movie came out in 2013 and it starred Daniel Radcliffe, and that is my main problem right there. I'm sorry, I love Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, but from my experience with stuff after Harry Potter, I have a very hard time enjoying some of the stuff that he does as an actor. I just question some of the general choices he makes. I really haven't enjoyed anything else with Daniel Radcliffe in it that wasn't Harry Potter. What was so wonderful about this book was how it was really disturbing, but it had this really specific kind of tone, and it was really upsetting at times. This was one of the few books that I've ever had to kind of set down so I could walk around the room and recover, and the movie didn't do that to me at all. I don't think Daniel Radcliffe did a great job of capturing Ig as a character, and I don't think that the other two characters were really fully realized either, and most frustratingly, I think that this movie ended on a very, very different note from the book. The book sort of embraced the darkness of the whole story, and the movie kind of, at the very end, it really turned away from a lot of the darkness that was there. So yeah, I didn't like the way that this movie was made. I don't think it was very comparable to the book, and that really bothered me because I really, really enjoyed the book. Next up, I'm going to talk about A Wrinkle in Time. The book is by Madeleine, and the movie that I'm going to talk about is the TV movie that came out in 2003. A Wrinkle in Time is a book that I absolutely love, and I know that this movie is really old, but I did watch it a couple of years after I read the book, and then I reread the book also, and it just didn't live up to it. And I feel like I can't even just blame the movie, because I think that the book is going to be very difficult to adapt to a screen, which is why I'm really concerned, because there is a new, full movie adaptation in the works. And as much as I would really like to see this movie translated onto screen well, I'm just moderately concerned, because the villain in this book, I think, is going to be very hard to take seriously when you're seeing it instead of reading it, because when you're reading the book, you can kind of feel how disturbing this villain is, and I don't know how well you can make that translate to a screen, so that's my main concern. But this movie was just quite poorly acted, and the effects were terrible. I mean, it was a TV movie, but still. And I just think it lost a lot of the feeling of the book, which really bothered me, because, you know, one of my fave books, and it just didn't live up to it at all, and that was really frustrating to me. I've kind of been mad about it ever since, and I'm openly concerned about the new movie. I feel like I'm going to talk about a new adaptation in every one of these videos that I'm worried about. I swear sometimes I'm not worried. Rarely. Next up, I want to talk about Percy Jackson. So I'm just going to be talking about the first book / movie, because I never saw the second movie. So The Lightning Thief is by Riordon, and the movie adaptation came out in 2010. I never saw The Sea of Monsters after my experience with The Lightning Thief and after reading everyone's reactions to The Sea of Monsters. The way that you know that these are the worst adaptations is that even Rick Riordan isn't pretending that he enjoys them. I'm pretty sure he is the movie's most vocal opponent. He does not like the movies at all, and he says it all the time, which I think is hilarious, but also a sign of just how truly bad they are. They changed all of the ages for all of the characters in this first movie, which really bothered me, because I don't think it gave them an opportunity to allow the characters to grow the way they do in the books. They changed all of these weird elements that I didn't love. They changed really specific things about the book that would have been really easy to do, and I think that they made it really difficult to make further movies, there was just like certain stuff left out that it was like, well, you're gonna have to really explain some stuff later if you keep making movies because you left out important things. The one and only like kind of positive thing I will say about this movie is that if you hadn't read the book, I think that objectively it could have been a pretty good, you know, movie. Not like amazing, but if you had no connection to the books, I could see how you would enjoy the movie, but from a book standpoint, no. We're getting more and more angry here, so I'm gonna have to try to rein in the anger for these last three, because there's a reason I don't talk about my least favorite adaptations, and that is that I will rant forever. So, the next one I'm going to talk about is Eragon. The book is by Christopher Paolini, and the movie came out in 2006. And I just want to say one thing straight up. If you haven't read the book and you've seen the movie, and after seeing the movie you were like, well, I'm not going to read the book, that looks terrible. Don't do that. Don't do that, because the movie is not at all representative of how great the books are. There were so many things that would have been such easy fixes that this movie did so dramatically wrong. Like, the most basic of makeup, as far as like the different species goes, was not achieved. The end of the movie, there's this like trick scene where you don't know if someone is alive or dead, let's say that, which in terms of the book makes no sense, and in terms of what the movie is set up also makes no sense. If people can see into each other's minds, then you're gonna know if they're alive or dead. Like, that's just kind of like basic right there. And the movie already established that. Anyway. The acting wasn't very good. The only thing I will say is that the casting of Jeremy Irons as Brom was really, really strong, but then they gave him like nothing to do, and they didn't fully emphasize Brom as a character, and I don't think that they did a very good job of fleshing out Eragon as a character, or Arya as a character, or anyone, and I'm disappointed about this movie daily. Alright, two left. Both of these came out in 2004. I saw both of them in theaters. And it has been, was it 2016? It's been 12 years, and I'm still furious about both of them. So the first one shouldn't be difficult to guess. It is A Series of Unfortunate Events. This series is by Lemony Snicket. I've frequently talked about how much I really, really love this series, and as I said, the movie came out in 2004. Leading into this movie was like the most excited little me had ever been. I was so ready to see one of my favorite books put up on screen, and then they announced that they were going to put the first three books all into one movie, and I was kind of like, okay, that makes sense. Not a lot happens in each one, I suppose, so that can work. I think that my final words on my deathbed might be, who the hell was in charge of casting Jim Carrey? Those might be my final words in this world, because I may never be over it completely. They took every element from Violet that made her a wonderful, like, intelligent, strong, interesting female character, and they gave it to Klaus, and they rearranged the ending so that she couldn't be the clever one to get herself out of anything. Klaus had to do it, or someone else had to come up with the solution, instead of just giving Violet, who's incredibly intelligent, the chance to figure stuff out and to get her and her siblings out of danger. No. No, that's not her job. That's a boy's job. No girls can solve problems. I didn't end up liking how they combined all three of the books, because it meant that they rearranged all of these different elements that I didn't like at all. Like, the point is that there was a specific climax to each book, and they were like, what if we just jammed them all together instead? And that's awful, and overall, I will never be over how angry I am about this movie. That is the main point. I'm furious after 12 years. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk about. This is the angriest that I get. So I'm going to try to keep control of myself. But this is one of my all-time favorite books, and that is Ella Enchanted by Gail, Carson, Levine, and this movie also came out in 2004. I have read Ella Enchanted probably 10 times. This movie is about internal struggle, and it is about Ella finding strength in herself, and it is, even though it's like really short and it's kind of a middle grade book, it's really serious. It has these elements of romance that are really light, and it has these sort of adventures that are light. But the whole undercurrent through the whole book is that Ella is not allowed to make decisions for herself. And if someone makes a decision for her, no matter how painful that decision is, she has to live with it. And this movie turned it into a musical number They turned all of Ella's struggles and the incredible character development into music numbers and go-go boots and light happy jokes and pratfalls and so angry. I don't know what it must have been like to watch 9-year-old me rant about Ella Enchanted, but I assume it's somewhat similar to 20-year-old me ranting about Ella Enchanted. I know it wasn't Anne Hathaway's fault, but I didn't forgive Anne Hathaway for multiple years after this movie. This movie could have been so much better if they still wanted to have the fun, because Ella and Char are so much fun, and the fairies are really interesting, and they can be really silly and fun, but I feel like they took everything away from Ella, and Ella was such a defining female character for myself growing up, and I'm infuriated that that was taken away from her to turn it into sort of a happy-go-lucky musical children's movie. There could have been so much more done and so much more shown for a character like Ella for little girls. Okay, I think I've let my rage out enough about these least favorite adaptations. It's possible that you guys disagree with me, that's totally fine. What do you think these movies did that were, different, that you really enjoyed? I haven't seen some of the movies that were based on my favorite books just because I kind of can't deal with the rage of it. I've never seen Inkheart and I've never seen The Giver. So let me know, what are some of your least favorite adaptations? I'd love to hear about them. I know that these can be really different in terms of what movies people love and what movies they don't. So let me know down below what you think of all of the things that I've said and some of your least favorites. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!